In this video, I'm going to share with you some ways in which I dispute a charge-off from a consumer's credit report. Before I reveal some of my processes, I want to first define what a charge-off means and how it impacts one's credit score, and then I'm going to list some common errors that creditors make when they report charge-offs and how you can dispute these for removal. So if you have a charge off and you find this video to be helpful, then please like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you can be notified of when I drop more content related to charge offs, collection accounts, DIY credit repair, as well as getting notified when I launch my Credit Repair Academy, which is coming soon. So, what are charge off accounts? Being late on your payments is one thing. However, a person's creditor will report them as charge offs if they have not made a payment in over 180 days. And that can have a very bad impact on one's credit score. I've seen it drop a credit score by up to 100 points. Charge offs are a major problem for credit scores and can have a significant impact. The more charge off accounts you have, combined with other bad marks like missed payments or unpaid debts, the longer it's going to take before you are approved for loans because these issues weren't properly resolved when you first applied. For your credit score to improve, it is crucial to get charge offs removed. A newly incurred charge off has a very negative effect on the account. Occasionally, just one instance of a charge off is enough, as I mentioned, to have a significant negative effect on one's credit score. Does a charge-off mean that the amount is no longer due? Well, having a charge-off status simply means that the creditor was required by law to report the debt as bad debt because they were unable to collect a payment from the consumer for more than 180 days. So charging off the debt does not mean the debt is forgiven. The consumer is still liable for the debt. The lender will usually sell the debt to a third party collection agency, although sometimes a lender may choose to instead directly sue a debtor, which is the consumer. This in order to collect on that past due balance. A lender may also send a 1099-C form to the debtor, which means the debtor will have to pay taxes on the past due amount. Debt collectors can legally pursue collection efforts up to the expiration of that debt statute of limitations, and if necessary, bring legal action through lawsuit judgments against the debtors themselves. How does a charge-off affect credit scores? Well, the main goal of a credit score is to forecast the borrower's likelihood of defaulting on a credit obligation by 90 days or more. The likelihood of default increases with a borrower's credit score. So, a low score results in higher interest rates and payments because lenders need to be able to recover their investment, which reduces their risk. The lower your credit score, the higher you are perceived to be a risk to lenders. Unfortunately, you end up paying more in the form of interest rates to make up for the money the bank would lose due to the non payer while also maintaining a profit. How long is it possible to collect on a charge off? You may be surprised to learn that even after your state's statute of limitations on debts has run out, a debt collector can still try to pursue payment on a debt. As long as the account is within the statute of limitations, they can make reasonable efforts to collect and they can file a lawsuit against a debtor. In the next video, I'm going to upload a video on statute of limitations because I think it's important for you to understand that debt has an expiration date. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you get notified. How long does a charge off stay on the credit report for? An account that's been charged off will show up in the negative section on your credit report for up to 7 years after the last payment was due. So the date can be determined by reviewing the history that is already on file and finding any late payments that were reported within 30 days of the removal date. If you go to annual credit report and you pull all three of your credit reports, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, you will see the dates that your collection or your charge-off account is supposed to come off the credit report. The worst case scenario for a lender is a charge-off. The last thing a lender wants to do is suffer a loss. Now, according to statistics, someone who has previously skipped payments for 90 days or more is 80% more likely to do it again. The charge-off on a credit report lowers that person's score in an effort to alert lenders of the increased risk. Your scores are most affected during the first 2 years, but they will improve over time. The charge off will automatically expire after 7 years of inactivity. The charge off will automatically get removed from your credit report after 7 years of inactivity. Now, notice I said inactivity. The date of last activity becomes current if the charge off gets settled or if you pay on an old charge off account. That can lower your score, even if you pay it off. because the date of last activity gets updated. Contrary to popular belief, the credit score is not really affected by the past due balance. The account that has been designated as a charge off account, that's what's causing the most harm. Worse is that when reporting a charge off, credit reporting agencies make mistakes all the time in how they report that charge off on your credit report. And that's why it's crucial to understand how to challenge a charge off. You will really have a hard time being able to save for the future if you're always overpaying on credit and loans. So, should you pay off or settle a charged off account? If the charge off is valid, if it's accurate, and if it's still with the original creditor, then you're probably best looking to settle the debt with them. I've never seen the original creditor offer pay for deletes. However, a lot of the major banks like Citibank, Chase, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo will oftentimes settle for like 20% or so less than what they originally charged off. But this can vary depending on how much is owed and when it became a delinquent account. For low amounts or new charge off accounts, creditors are unlikely to reduce the settlement. Does paying to remove a charge off increase your credit score? Charge off accounts are not going to be deleted from the credit report, even if you offer to pay them or you pay them. How do you delete a charge off from a credit report? Before I answer this, I just want to say that I believe the right thing to do is to pay it, get it taken care of. If you're going to pay it fast. Get on the phone with your lender as soon as you realize that you cannot catch up on the payments and work out some type of payment arrangement. Do this before the debt is charged off and the lender sends it to a collection agency. These lenders just want their money. They don't want to charge off an account because they actually are losing money. So oftentimes they're willing to work with you, but you have to communicate with them. The fact that a charge off exists on a credit report is what's hurting the scores. In comparison, the balance barely matters. And as mentioned, while you can ask the original creditor to have a charge off deleted, I've never seen this happen. With a collection agency, however, many of them will do pay for deletes. You just want to get these in writing. And with a pay for delete, you are basically agreeing to pay the debt, and you can oftentimes negotiate for significantly less than what's owed. And in exchange, the debt collector will permanently delete the collection account or the charge off account from your credit report permanently. So, how do you dispute a charge off account from a credit report? Well, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, also known as the FCRA, the only items that can appear on a credit report are those that are 100% verifiable, 100% accurate, and 100% timely. So, in other words, a creditor or a debt collector or the credit bureaus, whoever you're disputing with, they have to delete the information if they cannot prove it, if they report inaccurate or incomplete data, or if it's older than 7 years. The issue is that most people don't spend the time or they don't know how to accurately audit their own credit reports, which makes sense because how are you to know the legal procedure for how to dispute a charge off account unless you're working with attorneys who specialize in FCRA violations? Most of you won't. So I'm going to give you what you need to know when planning on how to dispute a charge off by providing you with 4 of the more common FCRA violations that I've seen. The first type of violation that I want to talk about is a charged off account transferred with a balance reporting. This occurs when the original creditor charges off the debt, then they transfer or they sell the account to a third party collection agency, but they're both now showing a balance past due. That's a no no. You can document this violation by highlighting or circling on the credit report both the creditor and the collection agency accounts and underline the balance due on each, and then take a snip of this and include that copy in your dispute letter to the credit bureaus. A second type of violation that I see is a charged off account with a balance reporting after a 1099-C is issued. This happens when the lender sends the borrower a 1099-C after charging off the debt while still reporting a past due balance. The 1099-C means that the debtor has to pay taxes on the income. The original creditor cannot try to collect a debt that they've written off and make you pay taxes on it too. You're going to need a copy of the 1099-C and get a copy of your credit report. Circle these items showing the past due balance. Another type of violation that I see is account in charged off status, but it's still reporting current late payments. This one is pretty common when a creditor posts a late payment after the debt has been charged off with the past due balance. Again, you can document this violation by highlighting the accounts on the credit report and circling the payment history, and then including a copy of this along with your dispute letter to the credit bureau. The fourth type of violation that I see is inaccurate charge-off dates. This could be incorrect amounts, last payment dates, and the payment history being inaccurate. If the account or any data that pertains to it, such as high credit, like I mentioned, last payment date or charge off amount, is reporting incorrectly or inaccurately, then the specific part of the account can be disputed with the credit bureaus. Oftentimes, the credit bureaus are reporting different amounts, different payment histories, different dates of last payment, when supposedly they get their information from the same source. And according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you are entitled to a credit report that is reporting 100% accurately. And each credit bureau reporting different data for the same account violates that. So you can dispute this type of reporting error, and it can result in the complete deletion of the account, especially if the information cannot be verified. Some other ways that you can challenge a charge-off account is if it's unrecognizable. If the account in question is one that you don't recognize, that account can be disputed as such. You're going to need to dispute the account as having no knowledge of it. Fraudulently opened accounts. If you are certain that the charged off account is indeed fraudulent, where an identity theft has occurred, a thief has opened an account without your knowledge using your personal information, then you will need to file identity theft reports. These will need to be filed with the Federal Trade Commission and the local authorities, after which you'll need to forward these reports to both the creditor and the credit bureaus in order to dispute the account as fraudulently opened account. And I am going to do a video on this because I see so much of this. I think 1 in every 5 credit reports that I am working with have some sort of fraud on them. Fraudulent charges on an account. So if you incurred fraudulent charges on an account that you opened that led to the account receiving late payments, then the items can be disputed under the Fair Credit Reporting Act under the provisions that are afforded to fraud victims. You're going to need to file fraud reports with the Federal Trade Commission and the local authorities, the police, for fraudulently opened accounts. You will be disputing these items as having incurred fraudulent charges, and you would specifically need to point out what those fraudulent charges are. Then you're going to need to submit the fraud reports to the credit bureaus and the creditor. If you were an authorized user on the account, so in this case, the account can be disputed with the 3 credit bureaus, and there's a very good chance that this type of account would get removed from your credit report. You can dispute the item as being an authorized user on the account. Please delete. And in addition, it would be advised to call the creditor directly and ask that you be taken off of that account as an authorized user. Now, for debts that were paid over 7 years ago, if you think that the account was last paid over 7 years ago, the account can be disputed under the 7-year statute for credit reporting, and it will be removed by the credit bureaus. You can dispute the account as an account for over 7 years old. Please remove. Keep in mind, though, that the 7-year period starts from the time of the last payment on the account and not from the time that the account was opened. So my step-by-step process for how to dispute a charge-off begins with step 1, which is learning how to dispute a charge-off by gathering information. So you'll want to obtain a recent credit report from all 3 credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Each of these credit reporting agencies has their own process for handling data creditors sent to them, so the information reported on any one account can be very different from one credit reporting agency to another. Now, while you can obtain free reports from each of the 3 credit reporting agencies by going to annualcreditreport.com, I just think that it's harder to read these types of reports because you're having to get all 3 separately. Makes it harder to find these violations when you're flipping from one report to the next. I recommend Smart Credit. They have what's called tri-merge reports where the reports line up side by side for each account, and this makes it very easy to spot the violations. I do have a discounted link for obtaining your credit reports via Smart Credit because my company is partnered with them. So just see the link in the description, and I'll also post the link in the comments. So the second step then is to highlight all of the accounts that have a charge-off status. I would primarily focus on the charge-off accounts that are within the last 2 years first. These are hurting your credit scores the most and your credit profile, and they are still within your state's statute of limitations. Step 3, you'll want to send the credit bureaus a dispute letter challenging the accuracy of the charged off accounts. Before you do this, though, if your charged off account is with a debt collector, you want to research the debt collector to see if they are a debt buyer. Debt buyers like to sue. They've purchased your debt. They also tend to do pay for deletes. You just have to do your research. When dealing with a debt buyer, I compare it to dealing with a sleeping bear. You don't want to wake it up. That's going to be a decision that you're going to have to make. And if you get into my Credit Repair Academy, you're going to learn more about this. It's been verified letter from the credit bureau, or you may get no response at all, or you get that stall tactic letter. Send a follow-up dispute to the credit bureau requesting a detailed description of how they verified the account, and that's called the method of verification. A method of verification letter is asking the credit reporting agencies to explain in detail what steps they took to verify the account as being accurate. Just make sure that you are collecting and saving all of the responses that the credit reporting agencies send to you. Step 5 is to review all of the credit reporting agency's responses. You're looking for any of those FCRA violations that I mentioned earlier. And depending on the type of violation you find, you can send a letter, a follow-up letter, asking the credit reporting agencies to reinvestigate your request and requesting a deletion due to whatever that specific FCRA violation is that you found. You want to send this type of dispute letter along with any proof, and I would recommend sending it certified mail and saving the proof of delivery. Step 6, if the credit reporting agencies fail to correct the issue, then you can contact a consumer law attorney who specializes in FCRA violations. You're going to need to provide them with all of the evidence you've collected as well as the original letters you've sent out. You can also go to a site called the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You can file complaints against the collection agency, and that will prompt the CFPB to reach out to the collection agency in an attempt to help get the situation resolved. And oftentimes that helps to get accounts deleted. So how do you dispute a charge-off account if you don't find any violations? Well, your last resort might be to request a copy of the account's payment history from the lender, or you can request it from the credit bureau. A lot of times the credit bureau won't be able to send you this information. Review whatever statements you get against bank statements that show payments being made. If there are any clerical issues, then you have grounds for disputing. This happens more often than you would think. And if you still don't find any inaccuracies, then just stop disputing. The account is accurate, verifiable, and timely, and it cannot be legally removed. If you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comment below. And just know that the sooner you take action, the better your chances of success.